In this Hogwarts Legacy Build video, I'm going to be showing you my Voldemort build, or Death Eater build if you will, going through the unforgivable curses and how you put together a build to use these effectively and also where to get these spells. So if you're talking about making a Voldemort build or you're talking about making a Death Eater build, you're obviously talking about probably being a Slytherin character. This is the house that produces the most of these. So if you're going to play this, then that would be the ideal house to roleplay. It doesn't have any impact on the spells you get. You do not need to play a Slytherin to play this build. But if you're just talking about role-playing purposes, that would be the one that you would ideally choose. And taking a minute before we get into the build to just tell you how to get the unforgivable curses in this game, you need to progress Sebastian's quest line. His is a side quest line. It's not mandatory. But if you keep doing his side quests and keep doing the main quest, it'll keep unlocking more of his side quests. You'll get Crucio first, then you'll get Imperio, and finally you'll get Avada Kedavra. It takes a very long time to get Avada Kedavra. It doesn't take super long to get Crucio, but it takes a little bit longer to get Imperio. So all you need to do is just keep progressing his quest line whenever his quests are available, and if you're not getting his quest lines to appear, you need to progress the main storyline. Okay, so let's jump into the unforgivable curses in the order that you get them. First, we are using Crucio. This casts Crucio on a target, and basically it CCs them. They're kind of like terrified there, being tortured or whatever in place. They can't move, they take damage over time, and they are cursed. Cursed enemies take increased damage from your attacks. This is really good for removing one enemy from the fight for a little while, or if you're focusing down one enemy, you want to cast this on them first, so that they just stand there and don't attack you and also take damage over time while they take increased damage from your attacks. What's really great about this spell too is that it breaks through any damage shield no matter the color. So if you have a target that has a damage shield up, you can use it on it to get through that damage shield and break it. Next up we have the Imperio spell. This spell takes an enemy and makes them fight for you for a while. This is really good in fights where you're outnumbered and maybe there's a really devastating enemy like a troll or something that you can take control of, so it'll just absolutely go around, start one-shotting all the enemies for you. It also curses them so that they'll take increased damage from your attacks. You usually can't attack an enemy that's under the effects of Imperio unless they're like the last enemy available, so keep that in mind. But it's really, really good for helping to turn the tide of battle. So usually what I do is throw out Crucio on a target, and then I throw out Imperio on a deadly target immediately afterward. And then finally we come to Avada Kedavra. This is the killing curse. This will one-shot just about any enemy in the game. If it's a boss that has multiple health bars, usually it'll take off one of those health bars. So like if they have 2 health bar segments, it'll take off one. Keep this in mind when using it, because it's best to use it when on the bigger of the 2 health bars, because normally sometimes it'll be like a small health bar, a medium health bar, and then a large health bar. It's better to save it for the end, because this spell has a very, very long cooldown. So it's not something you can just spam at will, and you're best to use it against difficult to kill enemies like trolls. You can wipe them out quickly, or bosses, or stuff like that. It will literally deal incredible damage and just absolutely kill a target. Doesn't matter what their health pool is, because it doesn't deal damage. It just kills them, whatever their health is. It deals the amount of damage needed to kill them. So save this for the hard-hitting targets, and make sure that it's off cooldown when you go into fights so that you can use it when needed. And in our 4th spell slot, you're going to want to pick one of 3 spells. You're either going to want Flipendo, Expelliarmus, or you're going to want Arresto Momentum. And the reason for that is because each one of these spells has a talent available in the Dark Arts tree that allows it to curse targets as well. And cursed targets take damage from, or increase damage from you and your spells, but that's not the only reason this is important, because there are other talents I'm going to go through here in just a second that make use of cursed targets. If you're talking about the 3 of these spells, I personally like Arresto Momentum for this build. I feel like it fits Voldemort better. If you remember in the movies where you're seeing that person floating in the air over the table where all the Death Eaters are there, it seems like that would be that spell there. And also, it's nice to be able to take an enemy out of the fight with that spell and just kind of put them off to the side while you focus on other targets sometimes. So I recommend taking Arresto Momentum over Expelliarmus or Flipendo, but you can pick any of these 3. So talking about other talents we have Blood Curse here. This makes it so when you deal damage to a cursed target, you inflict damage to all cursed targets. All of these spells curse, except Avada Kedavra, which kills a target. So you're going to deal more damage this way, and that's a really good spell to take. You can take it very early on, so make sure you get that one. Again, if you're taking any of these 3 spells, then you're going to want to take their appropriate one: Slowing Curse, Disarming Curse, Knockback Curse, whichever spell you chose. Select the matching talent there to match that spell. You also want Enduring Curse. This makes your curse effects on targets last longer. That means you don't need to cast them as many times in order to keep enemies cursed, and that's important. I'll go into that why here in just a second. The Imperio Mastery talent makes it so that enemies that you've affected with Imperio curse targets they attack. So you've cursed all these targets with your spells. Now your Imperio target is cursing other targets, and that can help just spread curse around all over the battlefield. Crucio Mastery is super important for this build because it makes it so when you attack a target that has Crucio on it, it shoots a projectile that curses nearby enemies. This allows you to curse a lot of targets. We have all these other spells that also curse, but this one can help you curse many, many more than are available. Usually most groups of enemies are about 3 or 4, maybe 5 enemies, but sometimes there's like 8 or 9 on the screen, and by attacking the enemy that you've Crucioed, you're going to be able to spread curse to even more enemies. Then we come to Avada Kedavra Mastery. This essentially makes it so when you kill a target with Avada Kedavra, every cursed target also dies instantly. And that's kind of the setup for this build. This is the big daddy talent here, because if you spread curse around to 5 or 6 enemies, Avada Kedavra a 7th enemy, then all 6 of those enemies will die at the same time. So you can basically wipe out the entire battlefield in one cast. And basically everything else we're doing with this build is building up to that. Obviously there are other things you can do because Avada Kedavra is not always off cooldown. But when it's off cooldown, this just instantly wipes a group. If you are off cooldown and you walk into a bandit camp and attack with this, sort of setup, you're just going to wipe them all out in like 20 seconds or less. And then finally we have Curse Sapper. This makes it so when you destroy an enemy that's been cursed or kill an enemy that's been cursed, you gain health. So if you walk in there, do all that, take some damage while you're fighting, whatever, you're going to heal. And also sometimes Avada Kedavra is not off cooldown, so this allows you to heal mid-fight from just attacking, which is great. When it comes to the other talents that you need, Basic Cast Mastery is good for this build because it reduces the cooldown the more you attack with Basic Cast, and obviously you want to get Avada Kedavra off cooldown as fast as possible, as well as Crucio and Imperio, so that's really good for this. Having Spell Knowledge can be great in order to give yourself another bar for spells. Swift's good for dodging spells, and obviously Wiggenweld Potency 1 and 2 is good for potions, so those are all really good to have. And Basic Cast Airborne Absorption is also good if you're using Arresto Momentum in order to build up more Ancient Magic. But really, we're not focusing on building Ancient Magic like the way we were in the Dumbledore build. So you really don't need too many of these, really just, ones that make sense, because you have lots of talent points and you only need to spend maybe like 10 or 11 in the Dark Arts talent tree, so you're going to have a bunch you can spend here. Other than that, you don't really need any other talents for this build. You don't really need room requirement talents or stealth talents. We don't play stealthily with this build. We walk in and just destroy everything on the screen like a Dark Mage would. So there's no reason to be sneaky or anything with this build. So essentially the strategy here is walk in, cast Crucio, then cast Imperio on a different target, then cast Arresto Momentum on a different target, and then either fight for a little bit attacking the Crucio target in order to spread more curses around if there are more targets, and then cast Avada Kedavra on a target that's not cursed or one of the cursed targets if they're all cursed. Just wipe out everything instantly. If there are 4 or less targets, then you don't need to attack the Crucio target. You can just cast Avada Kedavra instantly, and that'll be the end of that fight. So talking about traits that we use for this build, I've put Unforgivable 3 on all of my armor pieces, and essentially what this trait does is it makes it so that any target that's cursed takes more increased damage from you. And this is a staggering amount of increased damage that they do. This means any spell you cast, any basic attack you do, is going to be damage increased. So Concentration is a really good trait for most builds because it increases all your spell damage. So if you're using like 8 or 10 spells, which a lot of builds will do, you don't have to worry about one being weak or a few being weak because of the traits that you have that only affect certain spells, because those affect all spells. Well, Unforgivable basically does the same thing because you're cursing all the targets, but even your basic attacks are gaining damage compared to Concentration. So it's even better in my opinion, but only for a build that curses a lot of targets like this one. So we stack Unforgivable, and then our basic attacks hit like a truck. Our Crucio hits like a truck. Everything we do hits like a truck. Your Ancient Magic against a cursed target will hit for even more damage. So you get a lot of damage out of Unforgivable, and I highly recommend using that on all your armor pieces if you can. Again, keep in mind that you're not going to get Avada Kedavra until pretty far into the game, so you're going to be playing this build with probably 2 of the spells that I recommended and Imperio and Crucio for a good chunk of the game. So as this build is coming together, you won't be able to do that deadly combo, but you'll be able to spread curse around, and you should always focus on attacking the Crucio target if you can, to spread curse around even more. That wraps up our Voldemort build. I hope you guys have found these builds interesting. We have one more build that I think we're going to put out either this weekend or next week, the Severus Snape build, which focuses on alchemy, potions, and plants, kind of a little bit different than the rest of the builds. I don't know if we're going to do too many more builds after that. I feel like because you can hot swap spells a lot, and there are probably only a certain few play styles in this game, that kind of surmises the vast majority of the ways you could play. But there are obviously other builds out there, so we might do some more in the long run. We'll just see how it goes. So what do you guys think about the game so far? Are you guys enjoying Hogwarts Legacy? Did it live up to the hype? Was I wrong in my review, or did you guys find that you are really enjoying the game? Let me know in the comments below.